All right, today we're going to talk about coffee. So many people get so attached to their coffee. So I'm going to talk about it from just a general perspective, from a midlife woman perspective, and from a Chinese medicine perspective. And just so you know, coffee isn't good or bad. Foods aren't good or bad, but it's really about understanding like what the properties are of the substance, and then matching it with the person. So in Eastern medicine, which is my background, I've been practicing for 25 years, and we look at food not only as having nutritional value, but also properties. So some foods are warming, or drinks are warming, or cooling, or moistening, or drying. And when we match that with the person, so someone who is naturally hot as eating a lot of hot food, it can throw them more off of balance. But someone who is naturally cold and eats more warm or warming foods, they'll feel more balanced. So it's not good or bad. And we have a world that likes to tell us what the superfoods are, or the best foods, or the worst foods. And that I think is actually damaging because it disconnects us from ourselves. You are unique. Your body is unique. Your food is going to change according to you, where you are, what season you're in, just what's going on internally with your internal ecosystem or your body. So it's really important that we know that it isn't good or bad, but it's important to know what the effects are and when it can be beneficial, when it's used wisely, and when it's not helping you. I just really want to honor the fact that ritual and coffee ritual is so important to so many people. So you might be like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But there are so many ways that you can fill that ritual or modify, if you love your coffee, how to have it so that it's actually going to be more beneficial and healing for you than actually harmful. So, coffee in itself isn't bad, as I said. It contains antioxidants, polyphenols. It has some components that can support the metabolism, mood, even cognitive performance at times. But again, the key is timing, it's dose, and it's the unique constitution of the person who is consuming it. So, what it actually does, it's very stimulating. So it really can give that wake up effect. But as someone said once, sometimes whatever substance, whatever it promises, it can ultimately take away. So it does give us that boost, but ultimately it can stimulate the adrenals to release cortisol. So over time, if you think of like you have a bank account of energy, and if you stimulate cortisol too much, you're kind of just getting a little bit depleted in that bank account. And eventually you can get an overdraft. So then you can get into like an adrenal fatigue state. So that it means like if you drink it too early in the morning, it can spike your cortisol, but beyond the body's natural morning peak of cortisol. So basically when it gets light out, our body changes from that melatonin to cortisol, and that wakes us up in the morning. That's why bright lights are often stimulating and wakes us up. So we have a natural spike in the morning, but coffee can spike it way too much. If we drink it on an empty stomach, that can be even more significant. So for some people, they have coffee. I happen to be one of them. Coffee on an empty stomach or too much coffee, it will feel like anxiety, racing heart. This is what cortisol does in our system. It stimulates, it gives our body the survival hormones or that movement hormones a little more juice. So our heart is one racing heart. It can be anxious thoughts. And because for midlife women or postmenopausal, after our ovaries shut down, one of the primary places that we get our estrogen, the female hormones, is actually from our adrenals. If we're stimulating cortisol, we might be more sensitive and get into a bit more of a place of depletion. So you can feel it more intensely. I definitely know that from working with midlife women for a long time that coffee doesn't feel the same after midlife, and it can really have an impact. And even if you have it in the morning on your sleep later. The other thing it can do, it can increase your blood sugar temporarily. So you don't have to have insulin issues for this to happen, but it can trigger a stress response, which raises glucose. And this can lead to sometimes a mid-morning crash where you're just like, you got a spike and then a bottoming out. A lot of times people will feel really irritable or get cravings just because they're getting this crash and they need something to bring their energy up. So people can get snappy, just when you get that sort of that crash or that stimulating. In Chinese medicine, coffee, we look at the idea of energy and its movement in the body and its properties. So warming, but there's also a direction. So coffee's got a bit of bitter energy, and it's really warming and heating. So it tends to move energy or chi, we like to call it, upwards and outwards. So that's why coffee gives us a lift, but it can also be why people feel jittery in their head, scattered, or get overheated. So hot flashes definitely can get worse with coffee. So in Chinese medicine, we talk about yin and yang, and a lot of the patterns that we see in midlife women would be what we classify as a yin deficiency. So not enough of that cooling, calming, moistening component in the body. Because coffee is stimulating, warming, and drying, if you are hot and dry, it's not going to feel very good. You're going to get more hot and dry, and that can look like a hot flash or dryness or anxiety as well. And the other pattern I see a lot is something called liver qi stagnation. So stagnated qi. If you want to know more about this, I have a menopause body type class, or I do other things on that. But it's like an internal traffic jam. So a stuck energy. And if we have coffee, that can aggravate it. So it's like you're in a traffic jam and then someone just throws on, all of a sudden your car, the heat won't turn off and you can't open your windows and it's summer or something, like whatever. It's just stacking things. It's going to make it feel worse. And so that can aggravate some soft coffee can aggravate that. So over time, having that can deplete that yin, as I said. So that's going to be where it's already dropping in midlife, particularly if we're off of balance. Midlife is a great, I like to call it the great clarifier, or it's going to revealer. It's going to reveal where we're off balance because all of a sudden we don't have the same reserves. We should have enough to get through our life and be healthy, enough estrogen or yin. But if we've overused it, if we've been dipping into that yin bank account, then it's going to show up as dryness, night sweats, hot flashes, anxiety, disturbed sleep where you're popping up through the night, maybe because you're getting hot or maybe you just can't settle. So, chronic, constant use of coffee will drain these reserves. Can also tighten things up. It's subtle, but because it stimulates cortisol, it can be one of our stress hormones. We can tighten, grip in the diaphragm. You might notice that you're just a little tighter in the diaphragm, particularly if you're a person who's called liver qi stagnation. So that's stuck energy, definitely stuck in the neck and the shoulders, around the rib cage. You're sighing a lot. Just everyone's just a little too irritating. You're just like going a little too slow, just not that interested. Like that, if you find like you can't take wine or spicy foods or like more like greasy foods, this can be a sign the system is a little off balance. So you might notice that. You might notice your jaw or neck feels a little tighter. That can be a mild, very mild fight or flight state. And if we're already operating with in a bit of a fight or flight state and just a little too energy out and not enough energy in, we can get that sort of someone said, I heard something I really liked around the definition of stress. And stress is too much to do and not enough resources. So if we don't have enough time, if we don't have enough energy, if we don't have enough resources to do things, whatever that is, then we're in a state of stress. And so that definitely is something I see happen to midlife women because their call to rest is so much higher, but the life isn't changing outside. So we can get a little resentful for that. So not uncommon, but there's lots we can do about it. Also, coffee is very dehydrating or drying. So it's a diuretic. You'll lose moisture. So if you're already a dry person and you have coffee, it's actually going to have you lose a little bit more. So we want more hydration, more minerals, more moisture, particularly as a midlife woman. And so you want to make sure that either you're avoiding coffee, having something else, or that you're having something that's going to replenish the electrolytes and the mineral rich things that coffee can drain a little bit. So, I love soups and broths. I have these great electrolyte drinks that, you can make at home. And so I'll maybe put a recipe for one in the notes as well. So just making it a little gentler and making it not such a harsh um, effect on your body. And really, for coffee, timing is really important. So I did another video on intermittent fasting, and if people are intermittent fasting and then having coffee first thing, that can shut down their digestive system and be not great and cause more jittery. So what you want to do is wait for a while after you wake up, have some food, eat something. Healthy fats, healthy proteins can be helpful. I like to make, if I do have coffee, I usually do have decaf, but I make something called a supercharged coffee. Actually, I'll put the recipe for that in. That's good. And that adds like adaptogens and healthy fats and things so that that spike isn't happening. And when that spike's not happening, you can keep it a little more level and you're not going to get that draining effect. So keep it definitely to the morning. If you're having trouble sleeping, I would say cut it out. Definitely stop by later in the day, anything afternoon. I find anything after 9 for some people. Um, you also want to make sure you get good quality coffee, organic, making sure if you're doing decaf that it's a Swiss water decaf, they're not using chemicals. You want to avoid, and sometimes molds or pesticides can be in there. So some people are very, very reactive to that. So um, pay attention to that and just recognize too what the need for coffee is. If it's waking up in the morning, then you probably need to do some other things, going to bed earlier, cutting things some. I say this very, I don't mean to say that as lightly because I know it's hard, but something needs to change. When we have symptoms, pain, any kind of emotion things, it's our body's way of trying to get our attention to change something. So if we are like, la, 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 I can't hear you, and we keep going on, it's going to get louder. It's like we have a fire going off, the smoke alarm's going off, and we're like, go up to that smoke alarm and just take the battery out. Can't hear it. Okay. And we push through, it's going to get louder. So just really listening. But if you're noticing that coffee is comfort, is ritual, you love that morning warm mug of coffee, it's grounding, there's a pleasure to that, really important. And so that's different than using it to push through or exhaustion. So, what can you do to take some of the depleting aspects of coffee out and keep the comfort and the ritual side? And I'm a big ritual person. I love a warm drink in the morning, but I am really conscious of making it one that is not going to deplete me or make me really friggin' anxious because that's not fun. And do something first. So just notice that switching up, adding some things that are going to make it not such a harsh sort of depleting thing on your system, and then go from there. So I'm sure you have comments. Some of you, I'd love to hear if anyone's noticed anything or what they do with coffee. Um, and yeah, let me know how it goes if you change it up. Little things make a big difference. And just remember your body's talking. And so that you can maybe not have it every day, but when you do have a coffee, make it great, enjoy it, have it maybe once a week. Some of my clients do that. They go out and they make it a ritual and something they really enjoy, and they feel better and their body can handle it than the everyday. So play, understand your body, listen. There's a lot of wisdom there. You're amazing. And yeah, thanks and have a great day. I will see you next time. Bye for now.